All right, guys, we are live. We are enjoying this beautiful day. At least I know that I am. And I am so privileged to have Taylor Beats with me. She is somebody that I met at an event. She came up to me and was just so kind and helped me throughout the entire event. And then we started following one another and have just become friends in the process. I started following her journey more and more after I found out about her ADHD diagnosis or ADD. Sorry, I get the both. We have the both.
ADHD,
Yeah. So, but the whole point was is like I saw myself in her journey because as a late diagnosed ADHD person as well, there were so many complications in my life that I was blaming myself for, and I know that you'll speak to this here in a little bit. But Taylor is an ADHD life coach that helps women feel empowered through their diagnosis instead of feeling so weighted down by it. I know that you struggled with being back and forth on medication, and I'd much rather hear you walk us through that. Just because I know that again, your story resonated so deeply with me. I was like semi tears, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so what happened to me. So Taylor, why don't you just kind of walk us through where everything started and why you got started in this industry?
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me today. And to piggyback, it's just been such a pleasure getting to know you and connecting with you. I firmly believe that things happen for a reason and that you and I connected. And I'm so grateful that we did. So, a little bit about me. So, I'm the founder of Boss Babe with Attitude. My name is Taylor Betz. And so, essentially, my story is I was late diagnosed with ADHD at 25. And so I was seeing a counselor at the time, and he had asked me, "Hey, Taylor, have you ever been diagnosed with ADHD?" And I had really no idea um, what I was about to embark on this journey. And so
Mhm.
I did the questionnaire. He referred me to a psychologist who then just prescribed me Adderall, and was like, "Hey, this will be helpful," really giving me no background, no support behind it. And so essentially, I started taking the Adderall. I was a young manager at the time, and I needed something because I just wasn't good enough, because I wasn't acting normal. I was interrupting. I was late. I was also looked at negatively because I was a young female as a
Mhm.
manager. But you
Yep.
add ADHD on top of that, and there was just an entire stigma. And so I was really in this corporate setting. I was transitioning into a new job, and I was openly sharing with people that I had ADHD. Well, the manager at the time found out I was sharing this with my people, and he actually shamed me for it. He said that this is not professional, this is not appropriate. I'm not allowed to tell people how I am an ADHD individual and that I'm on medication. And then to take one further, he actually required me to take Adderall. And so if I was having an off day, he would then ask me, "Hey, are you on your Adderall today?" And I just found that so unprofessional and shameful. Like there was something wrong with me. And so in that moment, I realized like Adderall just wasn't the answer, because it just really felt like a band aid to me. I didn't like who I was on it, right? Like my creative juices were gone. I felt like zombie-ish, right? Like at times I was a dragon. I don't know if anyone's ever felt that way, but like I just felt like I was breathing fire and just like snapping out of nowhere. And so it was my mission to learn everything I could about ADHD so he couldn't identify if I was medicated or not. And it worked. So um, he didn't notice that I stopped taking it because of these things I embedded in my everyday life. And so from that moment on is really where it lit a fire in me. I got introduced into the coaching world, and this is really where I felt capable of having a voice. I felt motivated and just drawn to making this difference in people's lives, women specifically who struggle with the same thing. And so that is, like I said, the moment that lit that fire. And so that's kind of how I ended up here at Boss Babe with Attitude. This is where it was born. Um,
Mhm.
both rebellion and empowerment, right? Because I wanted to rebel against the odds and also empower myself and others. And that's how I created this business years ago, to help just not entrepreneurial women, business women, moms with ADHD to stop masking and really start thriving and finally owning their brilliance. So that's my story. Oh, Candace, are you there?
Sorry about that. I think my connection went a little bit there. We're still good.
We're still good.
Southern California. Southern California, I'm telling you, it's killing me right now. Um, yeah, I don't know where you left off, but I want to ask you how did deepening your understanding of your ADHD and of the actual transitions that you would need to make, how did that impact you overall? Like, what misconceptions did you have going into it? What did you learn? What did you relearn? That kind of thing.
Yeah. So I think that there's this wild misconception, right? That people with ADHD are lazy or it's a fake thing, right? Like we don't necessarily struggle, right? It's not necessarily real, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
And so I think that really taking the time to study and understand is really it's more than that, right? Like ADHD adults show up so much more. They show up in emotional dysregulation, impulse decision making, right? Chronic guilt. I could talk about that forever. Burnout, right? From being overstimulated, so many different things. And so I think a lot of times women specifically as well have just spent so many years masking this like people pleasing, right? Believing that they're lazy or inconsistent or broken when they're not. And so I think that that was my biggest like aha with all of this is that like we aren't broken. We actually have this amazing gift and our brains are just wired a little differently in a world that wasn't built for us and that's okay, but now it's a matter of understanding that first. And I really went through a healing process, and that's what's really, I think, transitioned in my work.
Yeah, like, so with that being said, like what all did you do through that healing? Was there how did you help that healing?
Yeah, so it was a major like mindset. I remember just
Hmm.
not having very much confidence in myself, right? Like just
Mhm.
knowing something was wrong with me, right, quote unquote, that I was different, that I wasn't capable of being normal, right? Like there was just something wrong with me, and I was using ADHD as this excuse, you know, perspective wise, um,
Mhm.
and so it took a lot for me to realize like all of those lies that I tell myself and that were being told to me were exactly that, they were lies, and
Right.
so that's really where it shifted my mindset, right? My confidence. And that's where I am today is just wanting to instill that confidence within other women who struggle with this silently, right? Like I think a lot of people don't
Mhm.
realize ADHD is a monster if we don't use it as our advantage, right? Like it just makes us a better human.
Yeah, it really does. Well, and I love your vulnerability because I can feel just like the energy shift within you about like even thinking about it because you had to live with it for so long where you were told you were less than and you even repeated that to yourself over and over again. And to be able to take that pain and then transform it into something that is empowering is really beautiful. And so I hope that you like honor yourself in so many ways there because it takes a lot of strength to get to that place, right? Of using our struggle as someone else's triumph.
Hmm.
And you mentioned burnout. We've never talked about this when it comes to burnout. I've never
Hmm.
heard it before until talking with you. And it's like, what does burnout look like for the ADHD brain? Like, let's
Yeah.
unpack that for a minute.
Yeah, so burnout is crazy, right? Especially for the ADHD brain. It's not just being tired. It's I like to associate with like being emotionally fried. It's basically like looking like your brain, it's brain fog, right? It's the executive dysfunction, right? Feeling like that paralyzed by simple tasks, irritability, and then a shame spiral, right? And so I think a lot of times this is what the burnout consists of because we tend to live in this like masking mode is what I'd like to call it, where we overthink to appear normal or successful while really ignoring what our true needs are, right? So I think
Right.
that a lot of times, especially with ADHD, we push ourselves so far to to be normal or to be seen normal or whatever the case may be that we don't listen to what we really need. Like
Mm.
yes, be consistent, but what does consistent look like for you, right? Because
Right.
a daily task may burn you out as an ADHD brain. And then when you fail, it goes into this spiral, right? Because you
Mhm.
fail, so you beat yourself up, you spiral, you delay, then you beat yourself up more, and then you have to start all over again. And that is what essentially is going to create that burnout, right? Um,
Mhm.
I love this because I always say this to my clients is healing really starts with permission, right? Permission
Mm.
to rest, to unmask, to stop doing the neurotypical way. And from there, we just really work on that nervous system regulation, rebuilding those routines to support, not drain you, but really to reconnect you with the things that bring you that joy.
Right. Well, and you said it so beautifully. It's like consistency looks different in everybody's life. And especially when you are someone who like, I know for me, if I have 27 things on my list, it is almost way overwhelming. If I have like five, I'm good. I can work through that. But when I start just the more and more I add to my list, the less and less, you go into that freeze mode
Mhm.
and you're like, I don't even know what I'm gonna work on. I'm gonna go lay out by the pool or something.
Right. It's like hands up, I'm gonna start again maybe tomorrow.
Yeah,
Right.
maybe tomorrow. If it, and then you're trying to compare yourself to other high performers, and high performance looks different in every single body, right? Like it's
Mhm.
no different than going to the gym. The workouts look different because we're built different.
Exactly.
And, being able to really come to that understanding that you don't have to measure up, I think is so life changing because then when you start recognizing, oh, I'm burning myself out in these little ways by adding these like to-do lists or like, I don't know about you, but like for the longest time, the morning routines, people were like 20 things. I'm like, I'm good if I do my top three. Like,
Right? Well, and like that's the funniest part is, right? Like I've had to learn that I'm not a morning girly, right? Like I am a very
mm,
slow rolling girly. I like
yeah.
to enjoy my time with my family, drink my coffee, eat my breakfast, and then get rolling, right? Like I'm not a wake up, do all of these things, work out, do this journaling, read. Like it's just not me. And that's okay.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's so funny because like I think I grew into a morning routine personally because I as a kid definitely not. Like you can ask my mom. I was like the kid that you woke me up, I'd kind of get dressed and then I'd go back to sleep.
Mhm.
So I don't even know who I am now.
Same.
But you make a good point about also that's part of your regulation, right? That's part of your routine is that you give yourself that space instead of pushing yourself into that hustle mode,
Mhm.
which I feel as like we start to transition a little bit more as a society, we're starting to recognize that that hustle mode is not serving us.
Mhm.
And I can only imagine how many people you work with are trying to force themselves into a hustle mode when they're more of where you're at on that pace of like actually wanting to take it slower. Can you talk about that a little bit? Like how you help people feel, and you said it earlier with permission, but how do you help them feel comfortable to take it slower when they need that?
I think it's just first recognizing the need, right? Or like the why behind you're feeling the need to hustle
Mhm.
or whatever the case may be. I think that's the root of it, right? Like there's
Mm.
been I don't know how many times I've tried to convince myself I'm a morning 6 a.m. gym goer. Like I'm not. I'm not her. I'm more of like a 2 p.m. gym goer,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Like that's
Yep.
when I go. And so I think I just was finally accepting that about myself and finding what worked. And that's what I ask my clients is like no limitations, ideal world. And I help them just dream and envision like what that life really consists of. And then we create a plan to make it happen.
Mhm.
Giving yourself that permission is understanding the why behind we do what we
Mm.
do. And a lot of times it's rooted into because somebody told you you need to do these things,
Mhm.
right? It was embedded in you, whether as a kid, at a job, a boss, a mom, a sister, a friend, whoever, right? And who says that they're right? There is no right, there is no wrong. I mean, in the core, obviously
Right.
there is, but there is no
Right.
right and wrong in regards to how we live our lives and what makes us a high performer. I think we define that,
Mhm.
and like the fact that you're even willing to change makes you already a high performer.
Mm. Mm. I love that. And I think, part of understanding that, again, from working in the gym for all the years that I worked in the gym, we need those 2 p.m.ers because otherwise the gym is like stupid, crazy busy. So we need more people embracing that. But going back to the permission and just the ability to see things in a different way and have that different perspective of taking away the guilt for not being this person that wants to, do their day the same way everyone else does, and really starting to understand the different tools that are available to help support you. I know that you created a journal and or no, a planner. It's a planner. And I laughed inside because I was like, "Oh my gosh, an ADHD person, we're making planners. Like this is going to be amazing because we all know how many planners we have bought. I could tell you like 12 of them that I
Right.
have in my closet because they never went anywhere.
Oh yeah.
So, when
Yep.
you went in to make this planner, what did you incorporate knowing how we are when it comes to, or I will say 98% of us, there's like the 2% that like, I don't know, y'all are just different. But how did you make your planner work better?
You know what's funny is I redid this planner like 12 times because the first part of me like just overcomplicated it. And then I was like, you know what? Like, what is it that I need to do? Or what do I need this for? Like, what is its purpose? And it's simple, right? It's to keep organized, manage my time, and then also sift through the chaos
Mhm.
of my brain, right? And so I simplified it and I created a very simple format. And then I added a few pages in case like we have those people who want to incorporate this. But the best part of it is it's not
Mhm.
dated. So I really love this part of it because I have found that when there are dates, um, and I don't do it, I beat myself up over
Mhm.
that, right? Like, ah, oh, dang it, I missed June 4th. Like, darn it,
Yeah.
right? Whereas, like, this planner gives you that grace and it gives you like motivation of like, okay, like I didn't fill my planner out for June 3rd, but I did for June
Mhm.
4th, right? Like, and it just gives you some grace in behind that. It's simple. It allows you to have like a one pager, so you're not having to shift through a bunch of pages. And it also gives different tools. Like there's a tool that I use
Mhm.
religiously, especially when I have like a million things on my to-do list, and it has a need to, have to, want to,
Mm.
right? So you break it down into different categories and you just like brain dump everything that you have on your mind that you need done. And then you categorize it, right? So you categorize it under the need to, want to, have
Mhm.
to. And from there, you circle the top three things that you can get done within 5 minutes and you do those first.
Wow.
The reason why is because that is going to give you a hit of dopamine, which is essentially what we thrive on as ADHDers. You're going to start the day off feeling that accomplishment, that fulfillment. Like I don't know about you, but checking things off my boxes like gives me the biggest rush. And so if you're able to accomplish these three things right off the bat, like you're going to thrive in your day because you're going to be like, oh my gosh, look at me. I'm accomplishing three things and it's only 5 minutes into my day. It's fantastic. Or 15. So,
Who needs math?
right.
Yeah. Well, and that leads me into asking you, what are some of the like go-to tools that have helped you be successful in your journey to, not that we're saying medication is not great and doesn't serve a purpose. It does. There's always, those benefits. And also for the people who are looking for those cognitive benefits and really being able to set themselves up for success from that perspective, what would you say are your top three things that you've noticed really help you thrive outside of we just heard the one, like I'm now going to make sure I do that because I did not connect the dopamine hit to that. So,
Yes, no, that is one of my favorites. But I would say taking 10 minutes before I go to bed to really reflect on what my day is going to look like tomorrow. So that this way I go into it with a plan or an idea as far as like what I'm going to spend my time in and where I'm going to attack it. Because when I wake up without a plan, and I have no idea when I'm going to work out, or because it does shift, right? I'm a mom. I have this business. I have a bunch of things going on all at once. I actually have other businesses that I work on as well. Um, and so things change. And I think that that is something of my superpower as ADHD is I adapt to like it's easy for me to shift, and it's okay that not every day looks the same for me. Right. And I have learned to accept that because before I used to try the block scheduling and that does not work. So, one, I would say pre-plan, take 10 minutes to pre-plan my day so that this way I'm just aware of what to expect. Right. Two, I use alarms for reminders. So, if I, for instance, my son, right, getting my son to school, he also has ADHD. So we have timers go off all morning. But I have one for when to wake up, right? When we need to have breakfast done by, when we need to put the dogs down or away, and then when we need to like leave the house for school, right? And so these alarms go off to help us stay on target, to stay on time, to make sure that we're not getting distracted by something on TV or just a chat that we're having or whatever the case may be. Also, it really helps with water, right? Like I forget to drink water. So I have 4 different alarms that go off. And if I haven't drank my 32 ounces, I chug it. So that's one piece of it. The other piece of it is timer. I use a timer. So I noticed that people with ADHD have about 45 minutes of focus time before they just kind of like get distracted, myself included. And so I set a timer so that this way I can really give myself permission to walk away after 45 minutes, whether that be go for a walk, grab a snack, just play on my phone, do something to kind of decompress my focused mind, because I have to give myself permission to not just stay focused or stay stuck on something, but also when I am stuck on something or deep in the weeds on something, it forces me to step away from it, right? Because usually something that I'm in the weeds with, I could literally get stuck on for hours. And that's not always a bad thing, but it does create that burnout, right? And so it's important for you to be able to step away and give yourself that permission. So I use those timers. And then the third piece that I really focus in on is I set like mini rules for myself, right? Like non-negotiables. And I think that this is something that really has helped me like follow a healthier lifestyle. Because a lot of times with ADHD, we struggle with impulse, right? So for example, I love coffee, like love it so much. And so the first thing I wake up, I could totally just drink a cup of coffee and go on with my day, not eat. Whatever the case may be, right? But I really wanted to start my day hydrated. So I made the rule, okay, you can't have coffee until you have 16 ounces of salted lemon water, right? And so I drink that water before my coffee. And so I set these rules for myself. That's just example of one of maybe 5, right? And so that this way it just helps me really think through like the
Mhm.
impulses of the day, because that's essentially what is going to happen. And so if I'm like, oh, grab for the coffee, wait, I didn't have my water. Right. So, and there's these like
Mhm.
trigger points and things like that that allow me to make sure I am staying on
Yeah.
task.
Well, and you've done so much research into how the brain works, and especially with ADHD. So you're really versed in, you already mentioned it, like the dopamine hits, the reminders, the trigger points. And I think that that's one of the biggest ways that you support your clients is being able to educate them on these different things to where, because I think, and especially, I found this in my own like is like when I can break something down, it's like, aha, I get it. I understand now. Now I can move on and now I can do the things. And even when you said like the break, even when you're deep in, because I'm the same way. Like I can get deep into something and I won't move for like 3 hours, or I'm moving every 5 minutes. Yeah, it can be that way. And but sometimes we need that break, that different perspective to come back, and it takes you like 10 minutes to finish. You're like, ah, because I took a break.
Exactly.
And so it's always good to hear those words of wisdom, because again, like we think we have to power through, and we're really putting ourselves at an even further, I wouldn't say deficit, but like we're making ourselves go backwards, which leads me into my last question, which would be, how do you help clients shift away from viewing ADHD as a deficit versus embracing the way that they operate as a unique operating system?
I love this question because I really truly believe everyone who has ADHD has a unique superpower that they just don't have awareness of, right? And so I think that I really start off with their self-worth,
Mhm.
right? Like that's really where we start, is understanding like what do they really think of themselves and why? Again, going back to the why. And then also working through different ways to identify our uniqueness and how it's a positive thing, right? So, for example, if you were late to a meeting, your initial reaction is going to be, oh my gosh, silly me, ADHD, like, why am I not on time? Beating yourself up over it, right? Um,
Mhm.
Whereas the flip side of it is, well, yes, I was late. Could I have been better? Sure.
Mhm.
But I showed up and I thrived in that meeting, right? Like I was able to give another perspective that no one else did. And so just helping clients to reframe that point of view. And
Mhm.
so I have them keep a journal of records of thoughts and experiences. So anytime they like beat themselves up over it, I try to have them counter it, right, with a positive. And
Mhm.
if they're not able to, we work through it together.
Yeah.
And then just a lot of reflection, a lot of owning it, and then helping them reframe exactly and defining who they are and who they want to be. Because I think that if you define who you expect you are and you live up to that, then it doesn't matter if we have ADHD or not, right?
Mhm.
You're living up to who you need to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and at least we're starting to slowly accept ourselves more with it. And I think you
Hmm.
take it a step beyond just acceptance. You help them really embrace it in a way that is healthy, because it's
Hmm.
really neat to say, oh, it's just my ADHD and do nothing different. And you're
Hmm.
like, hey, we can embrace how we operate and thrive at the same time, and like
One
make modifications that are in alignment. And so again, it's like, it's taking that next step that is just a little bit further beyond, oh, I
Yeah.
have ADHD, and just letting it be the label. Instead, you're like, it's a full body embracing that you're
Oh,
providing.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I will
So,
yell it from the rooftops that I have ADHD and I am proud, right? And when I make a silly mistake, it probably is because I have ADHD, and
oh my God.
that's right.
I'm laughing because when we went to go schedule this meeting, I had to do it 3 different times because I was going too fast. And I like, Yeah, that's sorry. I just laughed at it because I was like, "Yep, that was totally me." Did math right, then I didn't put in the calendar right. I was like, "Oh my gosh." It's like,
Right? And then you just have to laugh at it because you're like, okay, that happened. Well, oh well, like this meeting's still gonna be really great. And it was, and it is, right?
yeah,
So like all is well.
it worked out so good. Well, I appreciate you coming to talk with me today, Taylor. And how can people best connect with you if they are interested to learn more about how you work with clients and go from there?
Absolutely. So the best way to contact me, you can reach me through my Instagram. My handler is Boss Babe with attitude. So ADD etude. I played on words there. And then also in the bio, there is a link to schedule an initial consult. So I am accepting clients right now. I'm super excited to continue to work with all these amazing humans that come my way. So feel free to reach out if you want to work with me or honestly just have a question. I'd love to help.
Yeah, I appreciate your time, and I'll make sure that it's in all the different places because I know we're live on Facebook, Instagram, and on LinkedIn. So I'll make sure everybody has your contact. And
Thank
again, thank you so much for being here. And thank you. If anybody has questions or needs help, please make sure to put it in the comments and we'll make sure to reply. So you guys have a good rest of the day, and we will see you next week.